Guys, some more news from Iceland. This thing is going back and forth, and you know how it is. If you hire government-controlled agencies to do some looking into things or assessments or whatever, it costs a lot of money, and then the results, you look at them and you're like, really? And I think something like this happened here in Iceland, or at least Professor Thorvaldsen thinks that this is the case. So the discussions have been going on, building a second airport to bring more tourists in, probably to make this all more convenient. So they have conducted a working group that is coming from the Minister of Infrastructure, and they were like contracted to find a new location for a new airport. And of course, a new airport needs a large airport parking lot, right? So Thorvaldsen looked at that result where they proposed to put that airport at the parking lot, and that's a tongue breaker again. It's Hvassahraun. I don't know if you pronounce it like that. So Thorvaldur says he believes that there is a possibility that lava might flow over the proposed airport parking lot in Hvassahraun. And that's the area that this working group has thought to be the best, right? You see a picture here. So that parking lot would basically be south of Reykjanes Peninsula. And if you have seen my last video, even the current eruption series that we're seeing in the Sutnuka crater series could be a threat for Reykjanes Peninsula. Reykjanes Peninsula is a large highway that basically connects the Keflavik airport with Reykjavik, and basically halfway between the two, there is a crossing where you can go to Grindavik and then end up on Grindavíkurvegur. That has been destroyed many times by flowing lava now, right? So since we've seen that the last eruption has been traveling more north, right, which is good for Grindavik because Grindavik is south, and it was also good for Svartsengi and the Blue Lagoon. So everyone thought, perfect area, all good, just a little bomb field that the Americans left there, right? Like an old 1940s, 50s training site. There's still buried bombs. So they were a little worried about that if very hot lava flows over them, but not an area where many people live. But it could be that the next eruption moves even further north, or could even last longer, because that's what scientists think, that these eruptions could last longer. And Thorvaldur even goes as far that he could say it could be similar to Hawaii, so that an eruption could last for decades. There was one in Hawaii that lasted for 35 years, like continuously without a break. And that would mean a lot of lava would flow. And this lava here in Iceland is quite liquid and fast flowing. So let's say we have the next eruption that is coming. The land is rising again, magma chambers filling. It goes even further north, or it lasts longer, or both. It could hit Reykjanes Peninsula. So they were thinking, what should we do, right? Where could we already start building a detour so that this road is never closed in the event that the main road should be destroyed by lava flow, right? You've seen it with Grindavíkurvegur. It was basically useless, right? So they had to build detour roads. But Reykjanes Peninsula is a different animal. This road is badly needed. It's a multi-lane highway. But if you look at the location, well, there is the sea. And then on the other side of Reykjanes Peninsula, there's the lava that might be coming, right? And yeah, many of you have said, let's build bridges or stuff like this in the water. I mean, I don't know if they can even afford this, or if this is even feasible with all the earthquakes that are happening and the storms and the water, right? It's Iceland. So this is not the coast, and I don't know where is the coast where you don't have these waves and stuff, but I just don't think this is very feasible. But you know, putting your new airport there, and that's what Thorvaldur also said, well, the new airport is basically in the same danger area, even in a higher risk area than the current airport. So it does not make sense to spend such a ton of money on this, right? So that working group that was working on the airport parking lot in Hvassahraun was presented yesterday, right? And originally that report was already supposed to be published at the end of 2022. So a 2-year delay But they're saying, and this is unusual, the cost of its production was under budget. Instead of 200 million Icelandic kronas, the estimated cost is around 170 million Icelandic kronas. Isn't this crazy? I'd rather build lava defense walls or whatever. I mean, if you have a little bit of an ability of logic thinking, you can just go to all these scientists at the University of Iceland and just let them determine this, right? 170 million Icelandic krona here is what this is in US dollars and in euros. So they're most worried about the Krusovik volcanic system. That is the system that you see here. That has already sent lava flows in an area where now suburbs of Reykjavik are located, right? So they think if there is an eruption within the Krusovik system, that this could have an effect on Reykjanes Peninsula. So that potential airport area in Hvassahraun is mostly outside the defined volcanic systems as they are defined as of right now, right? And they're saying that the probability of an eruption is negligible. Is that really still the case after what we've seen happening on the Reykjanes Peninsula basically almost for a year now, right? November 10th. So this area is only less than 2 kilometers away from the southern part of the observation area to an area within the Krusovik volcanic system. So 2 kilometers. It would take lava just a few hours, if even that long, to reach that distance. That's why if there is an eruption in the Krusovik system, there is a chance that this area will be buried by lava. So 170 million Icelandic krona for a location that could be buried by lava. That is government spending at its best, but that's not only in Iceland. This is basically everywhere. So the Icelandic Meteorological Office has made a lava simulation, and I'll show you the maps here. This lava simulation is also reported in this working group report. So the most likely scenarios are considered to be a small eruption, which would have limited effects, or a medium-sized eruption with a short flow, in which case about half the area could already be covered by lava. So let's look at these pictures. The blue square, that's the area where they would put that airport. And then you see the white area, that's the sea. And then you see that gray line that goes north of the blue square, that is Reykjanes Peninsula. So then we see that orange area here, and south of that orange area, basically you see that darker gray area. And do you know what that is? You know what that is? That is the current lava flow from the last eruption. So look at this. Look at the distance, right? Would you put an airport there? I mean, yeah, you have limited space in Iceland. You need a very flat area, and that's what you get on the Reykjanes Peninsula. That's why most of the people that live in Iceland live on the Reykjanes Peninsula. That's why it is so dramatic that all these volcanic eruptions are threatening this area now. So let's look at a medium-sized eruption. That's the pink area. So already half, they're saying half the area, I think that looks even more than half of the area would already be covered by lava. And we know the Reykjanes Peninsula has just woken up about a year ago from an 800-year dormancy. Scientists have said we could have eruptions in multiple areas, and we could have now, Thorwaldur said that, a continuous long-term eruption in the Sudnuga crater series somewhere, and they put that airport there. So they have a 2-year delay, and for already 1 year, they know what's going on there, and they put it there. But let's look at the third scenario that the Icelandic Meteorological Office has laid out. So the pink was a medium-sized eruption with a short lava flow, not a long eruption. So the third scenario, they're not even making a scenario for a big eruption with a big lava flow. So medium-sized eruption with a long lava flow, the entire observation area would be covered by such lava, and even more. It's reaching Reykjanes Peninsula. And I think this picture shows even further when you see the dark gray area where the current lava flow was, how close that is. So they're saying that is the third and the darkest scenario. That is also considered the most unlikely, but you never know with this volcano. That report, we have to be fair to them, that report was conducted in March last year. So March 2023, before the eruption started at Grindavik. So I'm really wondering if you pay 170 million Icelandic kronas, guys, for a port that had 2 years delay. And we already know for 1 year that we're dealing with something there. Why don't you upgrade this? They should have upgraded this, because now it's basically useless, because this report hasn't even factored in almost 1 year of volcanic eruptions and lava flows and volcanic systems waking up. So I don't know. There's a saying in Germany, when stuff like this happens, I don't want to repeat it that drastically, but basically it means this paper is good to use it as toilet paper, right? I mean, there's always a shortage of toilet paper, so maybe, no, I'm just kidding. But what should we do with that report now, right? And I agree with Thorvaldur. I think he was sitting there and it's like, geez, really, right? And we'll hear from him in this video. So March 2023, before everything started, and they haven't done any additional lava simulations done specifically for Hvassahraun after that, as they thought, or still think, that the assumptions of the lava flow simulations had not really changed. But they have, right? They're worrying about Reykjanes Peninsula. Reykjanes Peninsula is even behind that blue square, so further away. So they're thinking about how to already build a detour, but the blue square, that's okay. In order to reach Reykjanes Peninsula, the lava needs to flow over the blue square, right? Bureaucracy at its best. That is what I think. They have some appendix about the volcanic eruptions in the Sudnuka crater series in this report. That's from early May, but that's also before the last eruption, before that eruption that is so far north, right? That is now alerting everyone a little bit that Reykjanes Peninsula could be in danger. So it's not up to date. It's been delayed 3 more months to get it up to date, right? Should someone really build an airport and a parking lot because of that report? I don't think that makes sense. So the last lava carpet is almost 16 square kilometers wide and big. And you see here how the Coast Guard flies over this, how fast this lava spreads. So that's why Thorvaldur Thorvaldsson, he's professor of volcanology, he says, and I agree with him, I really like that guy. He says it's thought-provoking. That's a nice word. It's thought-provoking. I think that is another nice word from how stupid can you really be? It's thought-provoking how little consideration is given in this report to the possible effects of volcanic activity in the area and volcanic eruptions, right? Why has the working group not factored that in? What have they factored in actually? That's the big question. What he is saying, so this area where they want to build that blue square, it seems it's called Fugvalla Park. And he says the proposed Fugvalla Park is on the verge of collapse. And he says, and if lava has gone over this area at one time, which it has, there's just as much chance that it will happen again. Yep. The problem is how can you avoid this on an island that is basically made out of lava and volcanic eruptions, right? Basically, whole Iceland is a big volcano if you want to make this very like abstract, right? So Thorvaldur points out that many of the lava streams and flows that have flowed there over time have even reached the sea. And you know what that means? They were far reaching over that blue square, over Reykjanes Peninsula into the water. And there it gets explosive if lava mixes with salt water or with water in general. And that's why there's evidence there. If you drive on Reykjanes Peninsula, left and right, you see lava rocks, lava fields. How do they think these rocks got there, right? Same with if you swim in the Blue Lagoon and the power plant, you're surrounded by these lava fields. So Thorvaldur says the chances of this happening again are high, especially considering that we have entered a new volcanic season. Yeah, after 800 years dormancy, this season is believed to have the potential that it can last decades, even centuries, right? So this is something that you cannot say, oh, this is a good location. It's flat. It's near Reykjanes Peninsula, good infrastructure. These eruptions, they will stop. No, they won't. It doesn't look like they will anytime. And, you know, it's rumbling everywhere. I mean, Bardabunga, 3.9, 3.7, just I think a day ago. And then 4 days ago, 5 point something. I mean, they're saying this is quite normal for this area, but still, I mean, it's rumbling, right? And it's rumbling in other areas as well. So we could see eruptions in other areas, in addition to what's happening in the Sutnuka crater series. Let's talk about the Krizovik system again. So the northernmost craters of the Krizovik system, they are north of the watershed, right? They are north of this area. So lava from volcanic eruptions that start there, they flow to the north. So then Thorvaldur was asked, okay, if this area, this blue square, is at risk for lava flows, would it be possible to build this airport with defense walls all around, like it has happened, like they have built around Svartsengi and around Grindavik? Well, both areas have already had their defense walls breached. And they were very lucky that not the last one, the one before, really breached the defense walls, and red glowing lava was flowing over them into the Svartsengi area, and they were fighting. They were stressed out, and they said, we're so lucky that this was basically the last day of the eruption and the eruption ended. Had that lasted many more days, and they also said, we're not sure that we can protect this area in the next eruption. Luckily for them, the next eruption was further north, right? And who knows where the next one will be. So what is Thorvaldur's answer? So he says it's possible to build like these rock defense walls. They're built out of lava rock, right? They're pushing that material to construct these berms. That is possible. And he says, or like lead fences anywhere that divert the lava. But, and he's right, he says, but then comes the other question. Do you want to be landing at an airport where there are volcanic eruptions going on just a few kilometers away? With all that comes with it. Crack openings, earthquakes, gas pollution, particles could fly in the air. It's not good for airplanes if volcanic matter or too much ash gets into the engines, right? I mean, we know already that flights had to be grounded a lot because of Icelandic volcanoes. So pyroclastic falls, stuff like this, right? Or lava flow around the airport while you're landing, or you can't get off the island again because the access road to the airport is like blocked by lava. Even if you're directing it away from it, it could be surrounded. You've seen this with Grindavik, right, in the past. And then how long will these defense walls hold? It's kind of crazy, and I absolutely agree with him. That doesn't really make too much sense. Doesn't make sense at all. They need to find a higher elevation area, but then a commercial airport where big airliners that are landing there with all the tourists. It's a problem that they're having. I fully agree. So what is the solution? I really don't know. Wait and see. Maybe not. If these eruptions or if this unrest can last for decades or centuries, I mean, even Reykjavik could be at risk. I mean, look at these volcanic systems here. And you know, there was a lava field. It's visible. Like basically if something happened in the Bluffjöll ski area, and we've had earthquakes there in the winter, lava flows from there could reach the outskirts of Reykjavik. And Thorwald also has said at that time, he said, maybe people should consider to build like lead walls around their houses to divert the lava. But then comes the problem, where do you divert it to? Because if you change the flow path or direction, other areas might then be in trouble, right? So where do you send it? That is something they have to take into consideration as well. And he's always said, we have to start about building defense walls around other infrastructure, other power plants to save roads, stuff like this. He has warned about this. And so they come out with this study and this is the result. And it's even only one location, right? If they had said, okay, let's look at 3 potential locations and how can we evaluate them against each other, and maybe let's even compare it with where Keflavik Airport is right now, because that could be at risk, right? That's why he said, well, your new area is even more at risk. So that's kind of what, right? So would they have 3 locations, maybe they would have a chance that even if that report had been done before last year, before everything started, that there might be one location suitable that is not so threatened. I mean, if you look at the Reykjanes Peninsula, if you look at these volcanic systems, I mean, if you look at where Reykjavik is, where Keflavik is, there's Grindavik, and then there's all these volcanic systems, and then it gets into the mountains. You can't have the airport there. So, yeah, I don't know. But you know, at the current situation, probably investing the money into a new airport doesn't really make that much sense. So they can stay, then, you know, if everything has the same risk or even more, let's stay with Keflavik and see if they can use that money that they intended to use for a new airport to make Keflavik safer and find solutions there, right? That would be my proposal, but you know, I'm not an infrastructure expert. I'm just trying to think about this. But you know, I think with government bureaucracy and this overhead and that much money spent for stuff like this, instead of spend it where it's really needed and where it's really useful, they need more people in the government that can do more logical thinking, that are quicker in their reactions, and they know, okay, this and this and this. These reports, I don't know, really, a politician could have gone to the Icelandic Met Office and could say, okay, you guys work together with the University of Iceland and then get me a solution, right? Thorwald said that once. He said it's kind of sad that they're not working together a little bit better, because it seems like recently they have been a little bit fighting with each other. Like Thorwald said one thing, Met Office said the opposite, and you know, they weren't really pulling on one string. I think it's great to have different opinions, but he said, let's work together more to solve these problems, and I agree with him. So guys, check out the videos in the end screen. Something weird is happening again with this Bayesian ship sinking. There's new videos from on the boat before it sank, from one crew member, but also from the German guy that was on the boat next to them. And what he saw, and he took a picture of it, is kind of strange, because he said there's something that he can't explain, like a dark triangle, and then the boat vanished. Very, very mysterious and interesting, guys. Check this video out. It's really worth watching. And check out what's going on in Campi Flegrei. New earthquake swarm just happened, and the director of the Vesuvius Observatory kind of said this volcano is not calm. We cannot fool ourselves. So now they're really changing their narrative, because they can't. wrap it in flower paper anymore and say, no, let's just talk about earthquake dangers. No, it's volcanic danger. And that's why they're making a volcanic risk rehearsal and evacuation plan. But guys, if you see where the epicenter was of last night's earthquakes, right underneath the major evacuation route that they just determined in their new evacuation plan. So boof, there it goes out of the door if the volcanic eruption starts there. So they're having an equally large problem like Iceland, with the difference that we have Naples there with over 3 million people, right? Iceland is different. So guys, check this out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting this channel. Leave it a like. Become a member of this channel. I would love to see you there. Go to my YouTube page. Check out the list with the member videos. If there's something that you think is worth something to you, become a member. I see you there. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.